Mark has returned. So Mark, as you may remember earlier this morning, gave us a bit of a talk about fossils and fossil collecting. He's now back online and he's going to show us some of his samples. Afternoon, Mark.
Afternoon, and thank you for that intro, Adrian. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Right, what I'm going to do is a very quick prehistoric show and tell. I'm going to take you back 400 million years to start, and we're going to go forward to recent times. So we're going to start by showing you real fossils. These are absolutely real. I've found myself or I've acquired from friends, and some models as well to show, in a few cases, to show you what they look like in real life. So we're going to start off with the oldest fossil I've got here beside me. And I think as you can see that's a large trilobite. It's got compound eyes like a fly. It was one of the first creatures to have eyes. And this was found near the Sahara Desert in Morocco in the Anti-Atlas Mountains. And it's 400 million years old. It's this sort of creature. It's got 3 lobes. That's what they call it, trilobite. But there were thousands of different species. And this is from the Devonian period, which is about the same age as the rocks, well, not quite, near the Silurian period, which I talked about this morning, which you can find west of Malvern. Now I move away and come forward in time to the Jurassic period now. Now, if any of you were with me last year when we were actually in the park itself, I showed people these stones. This stone was found on the North Yorkshire coast. I found this last year. And what I do when I'm live at the show itself, I hit this with a hammer. There's some risk involved, so I have to wear glasses, of course. When you hit this with a hammer, inside this nodule, if I open it up, you'll see an ammonite. The impression on this side, and this is the positive part of the ammonite. Ammonites literally were swarming in the Jurassic and Cretaceous seas. This is 180 million years old. They used to call these, in myth, snake stones. It looks like a coiled snake, and some people even carved snakes' heads on them and sold them to visitors to the coast of Whitby. Now, these creatures came in lots of different forms. I'm going to show you a model of one, and you can see it looks a bit like an octopus or squid. And this morning I mentioned this. They are mollusks or cephalopods. They are extinct. They became extinct 65 million years ago when, according to science, an asteroid impacted the Earth. And along with the ammonites, a lot of other creatures went to extinction, including the dinosaurs, which you'll be pleased to know I will come on to soon. But I'll show you one more ammonite I collected near Brighton in a rubbish tip. Funny place, but they dug deep in the ground. And this, I've done some research on these. This is a hoplites ammonite. It's very spiny. It'll be very painful to eat if you're a pliosaur looking for food. These got quite big, but you can see just how these would have had quite sharp spines on them. But that's another type. This is from the Cretaceous period. It's about 120 million years old. Now, I promised I would move on to dinosaurs. And we'll move on to another Cretaceous, a Cretaceous dinosaur, which is the same age as that ammonite I just showed you. But first of all, I'm just going to show you the fossil itself, which came from the Isle of Wight. This is heavy. It's very large. It's a vertebra, and it's not from a T-Rex. This is from an iguanodon dinosaur. That's a vegetarian dinosaur with spiky thumbs. And there was a lot of science looking at this in the 19th century. Scientists very excited at that time when these creatures were first discovered. Now, as I said, this was found on the beach at Hanover Point and the Isle of Wight. And the creature itself, I've got a model of it here. Notice the spiky thumbs. They think it worked primarily, it could have walked mostly on 4 legs, but it certainly was bipedal as well. It would work on 2 legs. Now I'm going to move on now from a vegetarian to some carnivorous dinosaurs. And the first, I'm going to show you a tooth of a Spinosaurus. It's a huge tooth, as you can see. You wouldn't want to be anywhere near this beast. This beast, I'll show you a model of it, had a sail on its back. It was a predatory dinosaur, so not carnivore, and it had this sort of tooth is a stabbing tooth, not a slicing tooth. I'll show you a slicing tooth in a moment. Now the Spinosaurus, this is from the Cretaceous, 100 million years old, this tooth. This was found in the Sahara Desert in Morocco, and the teeth the creature itself was bigger than a T-Rex actually, and 18 meters long, that's something you don't really want to meet, is it? In fact, in those times in Morocco, about 100 million years ago, it's certainly one place you didn't want to be, because also there, besides the Spinosaurus, was a T-Rex type dinosaur called Carcharodontosaurus. And I happen to have a tooth of one of those as well. I'll hold it up close. You might see it's got serrations. This was a slicer and not a stabber. So some nasty dinosaurs around in the Cretaceous. And as I said, with the Ammonites, dinosaurs became extinct 65 million years ago. So from the dinosaur, I'm going to move forward in time to about, well, not nearly the same time, in the Cretaceous still. In Lebanon, there's some beautiful fossil fish. And I happen to have one here. And this is recording a battle that took place 100 million years ago between a predatory fish and a lobster. And I hope you can see this. There's on the left is the fish, Europhilis, and it's going for that lobster on the right. And some tiny fish, one above and one below, you can see. Now this quarry in Lebanon is famous for its well-preserved fossil fishes. I think this is really exciting, as it's literally showing something, an event from the far past. So this is from the Cretaceous period, 100 million years ago. Now I'm going to move on to coral, something a little more, well, you've seen those. There's plenty of them around today, but this was interesting because they were digging a road, a bypass past Swindon, if you know where that is, further south from here, Blunsdon bypass. And they went through the coral rag. And while I was there, I got this beautiful head of a coral. It's not too different to what we see today. And if you collect near Malvern, you'll find corals much older than this. This is a late Jurassic coral. So it's about 100 and let's think about it, 150 million years. That's it, 150 million years old. Sometimes I have to think about the dates of these things. About 150 million years ago, late Jurassic. And now we're going to move on to more recent times, to the Pliocene. And this, like the T-Rex type teeth, the Carcharodontosaurus teeth, has a serrated edge. This is a shark tooth from the Pliocene this is huge. And this is something you wouldn't want to meet either. This is the Carcharodontosaurus megalodon tooth, a shark that would have the great white shark for breakfast. This beast was probably up to about 30 meters long. It's 6 million years old. This was found in alligator-infested waters in a lake in South Carolina. And I went along with the diver and we got this tooth. It's probably one of the better teeth I've seen, but you could stand up in a jaw of this beast. It's now extinct, thankfully. If I put it closer, you'll be able to see just how sharp that still is. It's been very well preserved. There's a slight bump in it there. These things happen. You're very lucky if you find a fossil that's absolutely pristine. But this is a real fossil shark's tooth from that time. And then moving forward, I've got another tooth. This is closer to home, not far from where we are now, well, maybe a little bit to the east. Actually, East Anglia. I don't know what any of you think that might be. It's not mammoth. Well, it happens that about 600,000 years ago, it was much hotter here in the UK. And you've got giant hippopotamuses wallowing around in the swamps and the steaming rivers of Norfolk. And this is a hippopotamus incisor. And it's perfectly preserved. It came out of a gravel pit. We've got all the bedding planes, all the scientific details on it. Being recorded, and these are extremely rare. But you also at the same time had lions in London, and I've got a saber-toothed cat. Well, I've got a saber-toothed cat tooth, which is also serrated in my collection, which I found in Somerset. So you had saber-tooths around as well. So again, there's some nasty beasts around about that time. And moving forward 300,000 years, coming up to my last fossil in this show and tell, we come to the mammoth. Now, just to remind you what the mammoth looks like, that's a woolly mammoth because it's got long hair. It's like an elephant, large tusks, bigger than an elephant, the size of a double-decker bus. And I found a skull of one of these about 40, which was 2010. It was about 40,000 years ago. It lived. It was a female. But what I'm going to show you now is the lower jaw of a steppe mammoth, which came before the woolly mammoth, which is part of a research project we're doing. And this is the lower jaw. You see how big it is? This is this bit here. So the big, massive grinding teeth would have come from either side there. And we found quite a few mammoths and tusks in the location, which I can't say because obviously keeping this quiet because it's still being dug and it's being researched. But it came about 50 miles from here in a gravel pit. And what was exciting alongside these bones, I came across, I haven't come across human fossils, but I came across a human hand axe. This is a tool made by Homo heidelbergensis, which is a forerunner of humans ourselves. And you can see it's a beautiful Acheulean, they call it, the style, Paleolithic hand axe. And that's been dated to 400,000 years old. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly the same time for the mammoth. It would have been really exciting if we thought these people were hunting mammoth. Unfortunately not. When we looked and we dated it, these had come from about 400,000 and the mammoth came later. But anyway, that's exciting because they're rare as well. And that concludes my talk for today. And you're welcome to leave any questions. And thank you, Adrian, for having me along again.
Thank you, Mark. That was fantastic. Those are really, really good samples. So yes, if people have got questions, they want to ask you about the different geological ages and what fossils you might find, you can answer some of those in the Q&A panel. If people would post some questions, please. We'd be delighted if you would. Thank you very much, Mark. See you again soon. Bye-bye.